Pretty good.
It's pretty good.
So, we'll make some time.
Sounds like a good time.
Yeah, we always have a good time. So we got these friends that they wanted to build onto their house, but because the neighborhood they live in has some historical quality, so they were denied their application, but the house next door to them came for sale, so they bought that and turned their old house into an Airbnb. And
Where do you go when you go down?
in Tampa Bay.
Around Tampa?
Yeah.
That's my sister used to live down just south of Tampa in Nebraska.
Okay, sure.
So that's
That
where we
used-
always go. It makes a cheap vacation.
Yes, it does.
My wife used to live on Davis Island.
We have a quorum. Call the meeting in order. Have an invocation.
Let us pray. God of justice and mercy, thank you for the gift of life and the opportunity to serve the people of our city. Help us to act with character and conviction. Help us to listen with understanding and goodwill. Help us to speak with charity and restraint. Give us the spirit of service and guide us to be the leaders your people need. We ask these things in your holy name. Amen.
Thank you. Pledge allegiance.
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We can go on then, the approval of the minutes for January 17th, 2018.
I didn't see anything that was out of what should be. I would make a motion to approve the minutes of January 17th, 2018 meeting.
I'll second.
We have a motion by Chuck, second by, what's his name over there? Mark. Is there any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Moving on to January 25th, 2018 special meeting.
I move to approve the minutes of the January 25th special meeting.
I have a motion from Christie. Do I have a second?
My second.
Keaton, second it. Any further discussion? If not, all in favor, say aye. All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Moving over to financial matters, appropriate ordinance number 2. I have a couple questions on that. Check number 65269, Plaza Lawn for $570.33. I assume that's a bill that's just now coming in from the fall?
That's paying ahead for the year.
Oh, paying ahead for the year, okay. Okay, thank you.
It's the full year of the fertilizer
Yeah.
and the sprinkler.
Okay, thank you. And then on check 65279 for $3,918.20, service line repair. What was that one?
The gas one. Is that what you're talking about? The 65279 utility safety and resilience?
Right.
That was the gas one.
Oh, yeah. North Development, that was the, KDOT.
KDOT?
Gas line
Okay,
was put in, and, we paid USDI, but it's actually paid us for that.
okay, thank you. That's all I have.
I'll make a motion to approve ordinance, or appropriation ordinance number 2.
I have a
Second.
motion by Mark. Do I have a second?
Second.
Christie seconds. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Public comments. We must be so good. All righty. No one's public comments. Moving on. New business. Federal funds exchange.
Mayor, Commissioner, Federal fund exchange, this is a supplemental agreement that they sent out to us to approve. And the big changes on it is they're going from 90-10, 90% our money and 10% theirs, to 75% being our money and 25% them for their administration of the money. And we have to use it by September 15th. The benefit to me on changing this is I can come into Concordia with this money. If we exchange it, I can use it for rock, I can use it for asphalt, I can use it for anything, as long as it goes to a street project, design work, whatever. If you don't do this, then you have to do a federal project. And the only place you can do federal projects like FAU routes, such as 11th Street, Suckin Street, Valley, Matthew to Hill, up to 18th Street, Cedar Street, and I might be missing one or two. And them are the only streets that you can use it on. And if you decide to go that direction, they don't pay for design if you do that, go that direction. And I can't remember if it's 75-25 or 90-10 match, but you got to come up with the extra money to match to get that. Say like if it's $60,000 to get that whole amount, your construction project's got to be above and beyond that to collect that whole amount. So say 25% is $60,000, $15,000, so you're going to have maybe possibly a $75,000 to $100,000 project.
So if we do the exchange and it's 75-25, we don't have to match. There's no matching.
No, there isn't.
Okay.
You basically, they're taking out 25% of the federal money for the state to administer, and it gives you the ability to use it wherever you want. Say like right now, say you pass this right tonight, and right now there's $0 in there for Concordia because we used them all in the last year, and we got 90-10 for our money, and we used it all on 18th Street. So right now, if we pass this, we have no money in there until they find out what money we have. Then they'll send us this attachment A, and we'll have to pass that to exchange that money before it'll exchange.
Where's the money coming from?
The federal government.
Okay, and how much do we get a year?
It's been between $50,000 and $67,000.
Okay, and we can use that money for what?
If you exchange it, you can use it for anything.
For any street project.
Street projects.
Right, street.
You can use it for buying
Suppose-
rock for gravel road, gravel, sealing.
Right. If we don't exchange it and we just get the 50,000,
You won't get just your 50,000. You have to do a project on a federal aid urban route. And I just listed all the streets that was on that. You have to create a project, you have to design it. You got to meet all the federal criteria. So when you bid this thing, I'm going to give you an example. 18th Street, when we did it, that was a federal project there. 18th Street from Lincoln to Archer. We bid that the first time it come in, and the state takes all the bids on these. And when it come in, it didn't have no DBE, Disabled Business Enterprise. They didn't have a sub on there, and you got to have a sub on there with a certain percentage of the project. When they rebid it, it come in like about another $70,000 higher because they had to have DBE on it. So you got to meet all the federal criteria to do this if you leave it there.
So if we
And
want,
then you got to do the project to get it.
yeah, so if we
Then you
wanted to
gotta
use the 50,000, we'd have to spend 50,000.
You're going to spend that or more because you're going to have design work and you're going to pay for all that, plus maybe another 15,000 on top to get that 60 or 50.
So it makes a lot of sense for us to do that, but the state's being able to,
There
in order to
being
make
a-
that convenient for us, they're
Yes.
cleaning more cream off the top for them.
Right.
but it also says that if the amount, the project is over the amount of what we're getting, we have to come up with the extra anyway.
Exactly.
Well,
So
that-
basically,
No,
okay,
I'm not
let me
sure
just
that's-
step back here. Say like, if we go forward with this mill and overlay project up here, we can just, as soon as we find out the money, as long as we've done the project and paid it, we can just take that and we'll just submit it. But if this comes in this year, say in March, I'm gonna say we submit the 18th Street project, get the money right off the bat, because we never used it all up on that. So because right now, they can't expect us to, and they've told us this too, they can't expect us to figure out a project and do it over a summer. Because we may not know until maybe March or May when we get this money. Like I said, we got to send in this attachment A before we can get this transferred. This is just preliminary, getting it done before the money comes to you. So whenever we do the transfer, in March or May, then we know we got the money. Then we can go back 1 year, they told me, and submit, we can still submit 18th Street and get some more money for it. Because sometimes you ain't gonna be able to do a project that short a notice. And like them federal aid projects, like right now, you'd want to have the plans on, letting it right now and doing the whole 9 yards. And you got to follow all their guidelines. So this makes it a lot easier for you. It seems like you're losing 25%. You probably are, but you're going to have to spend more than that to get it.
Well, I mean, that's where I'm a little confused, because for every dollar that we give them, we get 75 cents back,
Right.
and they get 25. But yet, if the project supersedes what we got from the government, say it was 100,000 instead of 50,000, we'd still have to come up with 50,000.
We're not giving the federal government
No.
money for them to give it back to us. This is money coming from the federal government.
Right,
Yes.
right. No, what I'm saying
And
is,
this is an easier way to get it from them.
what I'm saying is that we're getting money from the federal government, we're giving it to KDOT, the state.
Well, the federal government's giving it to KDOT.
Okay, but
Because-
with our permission.
Yes.
And then for every dollar, we're getting back 75 cents in the state. But yet, if all we put in to KDOT from the government is 50,000, I just throw that number out, and the project is 100,000, we still have to come up with another 50,000, because the state's not going to pay more than the money they got in minus
Right.
their
Exactly.
25%.
That's true. And you're going to get that amount.
Do we have projects that we have planned or talked about that would, on those areas that you told us, that would qualify for the
I don't have none right now
Yeah.
because 18th Street's been completed,
yeah.
Pretty much.
Cedar Street could use
Yeah,
a
it
dome.
could, but
That was bad.
yeah, I know, but remember at the last meeting, I told you, I said that's why I reorganized to go up around the college, because I just did all that sealing up there, and I didn't want to just tear it all back up. There's thousands of dollars worth of sealing I did on it. And that stuff's expensive too. And that's why I switched around gears and didn't do that and moved up there to do that college up there.
So what else besides Cedar?
Archer, no. Hill Street, Matthew, 2nd Street, 11th Street, we're in good shape.
Yeah, 11th's okay.
Yeah.
The other ones could use
18th
work.
Street.
So
Them are the
actually,
ones I remember off the top of my head.
but actually, if we took that money, we could use all the money instead of 75% of it for all those streets.
He's
But
90.
also what he was explaining earlier was that with the extra hoops you have to go through with the federal contracts too, and the additional requirements, it could cost you more money to
Seal
make it a federal project also.
Well,
See, even
that's,
like on 18th Street, we use this KDOT exchange money to do the design work on it. We paid for it out of there.
see, that's what I'm wondering. Yes.
So if you
We're
do a
only gonna
federal
get-
project, you gotta follow their rules. You're gonna have to pay for the design, and you're gonna have to come up with the other money to match that too.
It's cheaper overall for us to lose the 25% than it
And
is
have-
to move forward with these federal projects that are going to get overinflated because of different contracting requirements.
Yeah, and not only, and my biggest thing is the flexibility of using it wherever you want to.
90%, not 100%.
You don't have no guidelines. You do whatever the city specs are. And then you're done with it.
Federal, we
You're
have
still,
100.
you're still money ahead.
Yeah.
At the end of it all, you're still money ahead by doing this.
I don't know. When we're talking a lot of money, you go
Yeah,
25%. I mean, that's quite a bit of money, so I guess
Yeah.
how positive are we sure that we're money ahead and that other money that we're not getting would not apply to it and we come out the same?
But if you look at, if we go with this, if we've been getting, what do you say, Ron, between 50 and ballpark?
the number last year was 67,000, less
Let's go
10%.
67. The 18th Street cost us 70,000 more by going with the federal requirements. So all of that money that we received then would have been in excess I mean, we had to pay $70,000 more to get that project done, which is greater than the total that we received anyway. So I appreciate the concern about feeling like we're leaving 25% on the table.
Right.
But I think that we would leave a lot more than that we have left more than that by not doing that before. If that makes any sense.
By having to follow all the regulations.
Right.
Yeah, it's,
Yeah, but we still have to follow the regulations.
no, not if you transfer it.
It's a different set of regulations.
Yeah.
If we did 18th Street on our own without doing the federal money, then we wouldn't have had to increase the bid.
If we would have did 18th Street with federal money, we would have had to follow their guidelines. And we would have had to have DBE out there, Disabled Business Enterprise. We had to meet everything that they wanted, you know.
Well, I think another important factor is.
And they wouldn't have paid for the design work on it either.
Right.
I think another important factor is what are our priorities for, if we're not planning on doing Cedar Street or Archer or Matthew
Right.
or whatever,
This fits better with the plan.
it fits better.
But
75.
doesn't,
And then,
because those
the
are
biggest
streets that
thing
need to
in-
be done.
the biggest thing
They're
is
not
to
gonna
me
be done
is,
this year. This is an annual deal, right?
Yes.
We do this every year.
right.
Well, that's what I'm talking about.
And now you can't, that's another change that they made too. You cannot bank these funds no more.
Yeah, 'cause you
So
were-
you have to use them every year by September 15th. I did.
So
say
we
that.
need to do smaller projects then.
Yeah, so you're talking about maybe doing a block, reconstruction, and your costs are gonna be you're talking about, say, a block of street, if you divide out what we got into 18th Street up there, you got 150, 175,000 into that. So you're gonna be spending that to get that $50,000 every year. Unless you try to find a mill job and try to figure it out to be in, $80,000 to where your money comes out. And then your price is gonna shoot up because the people don't wanna come here to do a small project like that. I've had that, like, for example, I did a micro seal one time and only bid out so much, and it was gonna be like $80,000. I didn't get one bid on it, and I called them up and asked why. They said, it ain't worth us to come there. It's gotta be about 200,000 to make it worth our time to even come there.
The way that my simple mind is processing this is that there may be benefits to us not doing this if we have a larger scale project in line.
Right.
With us not having that in line this year, it doesn't make sense for us to not approve this exchange. If we end up planning for one of those federal routes in the budget next year or the year after, then it would make more sense to maybe forego this to get that
Yes.
100%.
Also, you're gonna have to remember too, if you don't use that federal money every year,
It's
there-
toast.
yeah, you're losing it.
Oh, okay, let's go back
So-
to that question, because all those streets that you mentioned could need repair.
Sure.
And I guess what I want to ask you is, okay, if we took the federal money and did that, could we do like you're planning on doing it on that one street, putting
A seal.
a seal over all of them and
I
use
don't
the
know.
money for that?
I don't know if they'll participate in seal coats.
Well,
I'd have to look that one up.
I think that'd be something to know, and here's my question, because other than that, that would be a way that we could use it all, get a bunch of streets done, and we're getting all the money used.
Right.
And the other question I got is, okay, if we didn't do that, what other projects do we have that would take more priority than covering all these streets? If we could cover all those streets, because that'd take care of a bunch of them
Yeah.
at once. Or what other projects do we have that you're looking at that would have a higher priority than these and
On
all
them-
those
On
streets?
them routes,
Yeah.
I really don't have none.
Well, then,
It'd be,
you
like-
see where I'm getting at?
yeah, I do.
And then why
I
are
see
we
what you're
gonna
doing.
give up the
Yeah.
money when we don't even have other projects
Right.
and we could use it to cover all these streets that are on the route?
Yeah. I'm not for sure about a seal coat. I think they'll participate in mill and overlays. But like I say, if you're gonna do one, you're gonna have, like Hall Brothers, they like to come in for a couple $100,000 at least, to do something. These guys are moving all this equipment in and stuff. You're talking about sealing all the streets or doing a mill and overlay. You're gonna end up spending every year probably $150,000 more just to get that $40,000 or $50,000, which we're looking at.
Penny wise, pound foolish.
and you don't have the flexibility.
Because we're giving up we're only giving up about $16,000.
Yeah, 16.
Correct.
Yeah, I mean, that's,
I mean, I know that's a lot of money for a lot of other things, but
I know.
I know what it's like to get the state involved in stuff, and I know it'll drive
Really
costs up.
expedite the cost.
But I think that, and I agree with Chuck, that I think that we don't have some of those other routes in the plan for this year. And getting all that reset, if that's what we decide to do and change our priorities, might be a little difficult, but I think that we've got things laid out for this year, and next year might be the year to not do the exchange if we've got
Yeah.
those other ones in the plan.
If you got something planned and you want to try to do it, and, yeah, go to town and get some design work done, 'cause they're gonna expect it, and I can look and see about the sealing. But you'd have to seal about every one of them FAU routes to use $100,000.
well, I mean, even if we did that, if we could knock out that many streets and
Get
do it,
somebody to do it.
and do it with a lot less money than if we're doing it on our own. To me, that'd be the way to go.
Would it be helpful
I
for
don't-
the commissioners if we set up a study session and went through kind of the priority list that Ron already has for the next few years, so we can kind of see where he's already at and what he's already got planned? Would that help us to get a better picture of?
Yeah, I think I'd like that. I mean, just to say, okay, we're gonna give up 25%, we don't really have any plans for the money. I mean, to me, that just doesn't make sense, but that's just me.
But
We
there
do
are
have plans for that money.
You have to use it on a reimbursement basis, and by this point in time of the year, he's already got to be bid out on his projects to get them done this year to get the money spent. So he's got two options for projects that are gonna work for this money on the exchange for this year. That's 18th Street to finish it up, and that's the mill and overlay going down Republican and into Campus Drive. We know that those would be eligible for the state exchange on this money. And he's got other projects on his docket, but we're not ready to proceed with those at this point in time. There's no way to get them done to be able to use the federal portion. So I agree and appreciate Mark's comments that this year's not the year to take a look and make a decision to use the federal funds. This year's the year to use the state funds with the flexibility that we have. But one of the things we can do by looking at those prioritized projects is decide, is year 2 or year 3 the year to not exchange them? But I think it would be helpful for the commissioners if we took a look at what Ron's priority lists are right now.
I'd like that, and I think that way then we can say, well, okay, maybe this year, we just need to take it all the way.
I think we're already at that
Understand.
point, though.
So, yeah, do we need to do that now, or is
Well,
that something that can wait until
just
budget
need to-
time?
I don't think that we're prepared to review your priority list
No.
tonight.
And what's the deadline on getting back and getting this?
This here, I mean, we can do this tonight. We ain't exchanging no funds until they tell me what we have for funds to exchange. This is just saying that you're gonna go along with this, if we exchange funds. The attachment A in there, if you'll go to that, if you slide over there a little bit. Up. Right there. They will send us that out, and we will have to approve the amount that we're gonna exchange.
So
For
actually, until
2008.
we find out the amount, we can't act on this anyway.
What they're doing is they're sending this out ahead of time to get a jump on everything.
So we're
So-
saying, yes, go ahead and send this to us, and then we'll make up our mind for sure whether we're
Yeah.
gonna do it or not
I mean,
later.
this here, we're agreeing to their terms if we go ahead with this here and send it in to them. I don't know what the funds are now, because they don't know. But if they send this to me later on, we've already got the agreement in place. If we decide to change them, we exchange them. If we don't, we don't. We'll have to figure out how to get them from the feds.
So we can
We can approve this tonight.
approve this tonight, we can review the projects, and then decide whether we're for sure gonna go ahead with this, or, and we've already submitted, so we've already got that done, or we wanna go with the federal, and we can change our minds at that time, is that correct? Okay,
So then we can sign this, and we're not locked into anything.
No, we're not until we send in. that
Until we
wanna
give them the
transfer
money.
these funds with attachment A.
Okay,
okay,
that makes sense.
okay.
I can go with that.
Then I would make a motion, or move to approve the federal funds exchange.
I second the motion.
Any further discussion? We have Mark making the motion, Christie seconding the motion. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Ron.
Airport ordinance 2018-3131.
This is what we talked about last week. Gives us some flexibility to have a little more leeway of what we can tell people if they need to get out if they're parking illegally in there. It's basically what the last one was, but we did make that change, and and it also allows for the long term that we have put into place.
Yeah.
Right now, it's just an in-house policy, and we want to actually add that to the ordinance so we have something to back that up.
Now, I can't remember, Stacy, we said I missed that. We're going to put it in the newspaper. Is there something posted out there? I can't remember. It'll say what this basically,
As soon as this
the
gets
rates.
passed, then we can do that.
Okay.
Right now, there's not any, you talk about long-term?
Well, I'm just talking about when campers pull in there, they know who to call and what the rates are and all that stuff.
Well, right now, everything is donation only.
Uh-huh.
We do have a few things posted in the kiosk. And there are some things that do mention that they need to have a permit. We need to remove those because permits aren't required anymore except for the long-term, the 2 long-term spaces. But yes, definitely I want to have some signage after this gets passed so people know that we have the different options available and,
Okay.
and what our ordinance reads.
Okay.
I'd move to approve ordinance 2018-3131.
Chuck's made a motion to accept, or make a motion to approve 2018-3131. Do I have a second?
A second.
Any further discussion? We have a second from Mark. No further discussion. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Next up, ordinance 2018-3132, Vacation Cloud Corp. property.
Mayor and Commissioners, ordinance before you is a recommendation from the Planning Commission to vacate an ordinance, or vacate a railroad right-of-way at Concordia Industrial Park. This was brought up several years ago, and you can see from the attachments what we're talking about. And as with any vacation of any right-of-way easement or you have to consider the utilities, and our ordinance or our rules say that you have to contact the utility companies, and I always do that. I have emails for all of them, send it out, and that's the first time I ever got a response back from AT&T. And the reason that second picture's there, you on the next picture, Amber, please, is because, and it's not very clear on this, but we had to vacate it all except that piece. Because that's in a utility easement, and AT&T actually has something right there. And that's the first time they've ever contacted me on any, and I thought they just didn't care, didn't pay attention, but apparently they do, because they called me back the next day, said, hey, we got something right there. So we're vacating the right-of-way minus that westernmost 15 feet, so that they can continue that utility easement through there. And on the memo, you see your options. You can either accept the recommendation as by majority vote, or override it by 2/3 majority vote, or send it back for more discussion, or if you're not clear on something, or if you're not sure. Any questions, concerns?
Bruno, I'll be honest, I'm having a hard time figuring out where this is at exactly.
Oh, Concordia Industrial Park,
I mean,
It's behind Henry Enterprise out there.
behind what?
you know,
Enterprise.
Oh, okay.
I can.
That's where I thought that
if you go
curved
back
road
to the
was.
Plat, right, let me find a laser, go down one, right, Right there's Henry Enterprises, right there's Tilkey's Sandwiches.
Okay,
shop,
got it.
Right there's the dance place, Concordia Dance Company, I think. And then that's
Okay.
Scott Specialties.
That's why I thought I was looking for 7th Street on that road, so I could tell me where
I'm
it's at.
sorry, that doesn't, this is a 70, plat from 71 or something.
Yeah,
That's
okay.
7th Street center line right there.
Yeah, okay, I got it.
This used to be, when this was platted, that was in the county, that road. Right, from right here, I think.
So we're right in here.
It changed. That was a county highway right there, and now it's city street, so.
This threw me off, this.
And I think Cloud Core, after they get this done, they'll be looking to do some upgrading on, because some lot dimensions are gonna change a little bit, but they, there's a little bit of, people about Henry Enterprise might be looking to do something out there, so.
So there's not even a rail. I mean, there's a rail with Concordia Technologies, but I mean,
It doesn't seem practical in today's world, that spur right away for a railroad. How would you get it across that road?
I just
No,
don't
you
see
have
any downside to it. I don't see any reason why it can't go back to unencumbered ground.
Oh, yeah, no, that's not an issue at all. No, that, I think the original people from Cloud Core that were around when they did that, they thought that would be an extension of the Alstom area, and there'd be more factories that needed a railroad. But I think in today's world, the railroad wouldn't even deal with something like that.
Right.
They wouldn't.
Right.
You'd have to do it privately and have to figure out how to get it across the road. So it's really kind of an obsolete kind of thing.
I would move to approve ordinance 2018-3132.
Second.
Motion by Chuck, or second? Christie, you second? Any further discussion?
Nope.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
Thank you.
Move on to the manager's report.
Mayor and Commissioners, just an update on the neighborhood listening tour. We do have flyers out at nearly 30 businesses. We, thanks to the help of Toby and Jim, we've been able to advertise those listening tours as well. Just keep on your calendar. I think since you have the dates, we start on Monday, February 26th at 7 p.m. At Valley Rental Center will be our first one. So we're really excited about that. I believe that the poster should also be up on the Broadway Plaza screen here shortly as well. So that's great. This past Tuesday, I did attend a grant writing workshop sponsored by K-State Extension, and it was held in Miltonville at the EMS building, probably 35, 40 people in attendance there. Some great information, and probably one of the best things about it was actually information for different resources for a variety of grants. So we'll be starting to look at some opportunities there to see if there's anything that we already have in the works that grants could help us out with funding sources. Finally, at the end of your agenda this time, you'll see informational items related to monthly sales tax reports. Looking through those on the 4th page of the sales tax report with the purple headings, that's at the bottom lower left corner. You'll see the city's portion. You'll see 17 and 18 comparison. If you go up one block from that lower left portion, you can see the comparison year end of 2016 to year end 2017. And for the city sales tax portion, we were up slightly. Did a brief calculation, came up to 0.7%, but the bottom line is we were up compared to last year, so we're very pleased about that. On the last page, you'll also see information related to use tax, and again, that does appear to be up from it's down from 16. As I was looking across that, it looks like the year 2016 was an anomaly year. There were a couple of very large purchases that happened throughout 2016 that really increased the use tax for there. So I think if we would have a better comparison looking at 2012 through 2015 to get a better idea of where we were. Regardless, 2017 was still very strong on the use tax side of things, so we're pretty pleased to see that. For those of you that are new to the commission, you'll see a report like this, I believe Amber said monthly, in the packet each year in, so we can kind of see and track where we're at. Sales tax and use tax is a part of our revenue source each year. Be happy to answer any questions the commissioners have.
I've heard nothing but good comments about the listening tour, and it's a good thing. Looking forward to it. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioners, reports, comments.
I have had, let's say about 3 or 4 people ask me, and it's something, I don't know if it's going to be a big issue, but I think we might hear it on the listening tour, is that I've had several people say, why do we need a heater in the swimming pool? We didn't have one when I was a kid. So, you know, it's a legitimate question. I know when you first start up a pool at the beginning of the year, it's pretty cold for a while. And I'm not asking it for me. I'm just saying that's an issue out there with several people. So I just need to know how to answer that question.
I don't know if there's a good answer. I mean, people are supposed to come to the pool, be cool, right?
Yeah, right.
Well, I do know at the end of last year when it broke down, our attendance went way down because it was cool in August.
Mm-hmm.
And if that pool water's warm, it seems like it draws more people. And the other thing is the people that swim team, when they come there, they like to have swim meets here because our pool's heated.
Okay.
And it's nice to swim in.
Okay.
So,
I can tell you,
I
like
mean-
clockwork, if you want a cold summer day, let our family reserve it for a pool party. I don't think that we've had a pool party there where the daytime temperature was over 80 degrees, so we've personally benefited from the heater being
Yeah,
there.
I mean, it's been heated since they built it in 70-something, 74. So I don't know how old
Good hang out
these
with you.
people are.
Hey, I helped build that swimming pool.
Did you?
Yeah.
Well,
Tells you how old I am.
So really, there's no good answer for that. I mean, comfort, where you could swim where it's a little cooler, you know, for the kids. I do know Annie likes it to be warm when she's doing swim lessons early in the year, you know, because the kids get in there if they're freezing, they don't want to be in the water.
Yeah.
So comfort.
Yeah. Okay.
And it's something we provided for the last 40 years almost. So.
Watch out.
Huh?
Watch out. 40 years.
Well, it was built in 76.
Yeah. I was working on it in 75. Yeah.
So calculate that.
Yeah. Boy, I talked myself into a whirlwind there, didn't I? Thanks.
For the record, Commissioner Matthews was 5 years old when he was working on it.
Child labor laws, what they are now. Trying to give you an out for your age.
Yeah.
Child labor laws.
Yeah.
Check.
Nothing. I think it's been said for. We just appreciate all the hard work. These have been some really cold days, so moving the snow off the road is appreciated. I know it's hard once you get any kind of tire tracks to get, you know, really the kind of traction you want, but just clearing the roads, appreciate it. So, thank you very much.
Done good.
Early mornings, cold weather. Not excited.
Christie?
I have nothing.
Keaton? I'd just like to thank the commissioners for going to take their time, join us on the listening tour. It takes time out of your guys' schedule. And I really want to thank Amy and her staff for putting this thing together, you know, lining up the things and getting out to the press and the whole thing. And I think it's something that's, I hope people show up and take advantage of it. My feeling is if they don't, then they can't come back to us and say, we didn't want to hear what they were saying, so, because we do.
Yeah.
I think that's the important thing, and so they can do it. That's about all I have. Oh, I got one question. Jeremy's not, Jerry, when are they gonna start work on the second, water tower? You might have told me that, and I probably forgot.
The East Tower,
Yeah,
we're gonna get this one paid off first before we jump.
oh, okay, okay,
So it'll be a couple of years.
okay.
They still do their yearly maintenance, because it's under contract.
Okay, that's what I thought. I thought we had that thing, it was my fault on that. I thought it was set up to do one and then the other, but,
Yes, and they still come and inspect it yearly and do their yearly maintenance, but it'll be a couple of years.
all right, thank you. My confusion. That's all I have. Staff comments.
Here, Commissioners, because the state statute requires it, I'm informing you that we had $0 in asset forfeiture for 2017. We have some pending, but if they're awarded, they'll go under 2018.
Thank you.
Just some FYI that Kansas Gas Service has contacted me, and they're, in the next couple of months, they may start doing some gas line renewal from the house to the meter out there and moving them. And they got like 800 and some of them to do. So it's going to be an inconvenience. Me and Amy's meeting with them next week to see what their plan is and how they're going to approach it and stuff like that. So, in talking with Clayton Peterson, he said they had a plan that they was probably going to do 40 or 50 a week and then try to patch them in so people ain't inconvenienced.
So,
So-
so if a house has a gas meter by the house, they're gonna take it out to the street? or
No,
to the alley?
if it's by the alley, they're taking it up to the house.
Yeah.
Huh,
And
okay.
they're going to replace from the actual main and to put in a plastic line going up to the house.
Okay.
Basically, they're replacing all the steel line in town from the meter, from the main to the house.
Hey, Ron, are they
Yeah.
still on schedule, start the second part of the street? On the sewer line?
Main Street.
Main Street?
Oh, that's Jeremy's water line.
I'm sorry,
Be
That's okay.
first week of March
first week of March, let's start.
to start that.
And then it'll be the,
Yeah, I also had a public meeting last night. Don Dean, Ken, and myself, and APAC showed up. No public, so.
how'd that go?
All you can do is be here.
Yeah. No other comments? And then we need to adjourn and move into a study session.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Any further comments, discussions? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Study session.
All right, moving right along. The first thing on the study session here is the noise ordinance. Pardon me. I had talked with, in the beginning actually, the chief and with Megan Murdoch. Basically, what this comes from is we do not have a noise ordinance in the city of Concordia. And what ends up happening because of that is if there's any kind of disturbance, and when I say disturbance, I'm talking about a lower level and a party. And officers have to go out there and they write a ticket. They have to write a ticket for disorderly conduct. And a disorderly conduct ticket is a misdemeanor. And it's not necessarily something that law enforcement wanted to have to write for house parties. A lot of cities, we were all doing some research. I did some research on a lot of college towns and stuff like that to look at their noise ordinances. The one that we have drafted is actually modeled after Manhattan's. I figured if anybody knows how to deal with noise ordinances, it's going to be Manhattan or Lawrence. I picked Manhattan. What this allows us to do, because I like K-State, and I went there, and I might even be familiar with the noise ordinance in Manhattan, but it was there when I was there. So what we decided to do here is we need to fill that gap. What this does is it allows discretion essentially for our officers instead of writing a ticket that's a misdemeanor for these folks that are having a party or anything that is, as you'll see, an amplified noise or different things like that. What it allows our officers to do is to write essentially a ticket, but it's an infraction. So if you look, just kind of jumping ahead here, if you look at the penalties, the first penalty, which is going to be under it says 14. It's on page where I have it is 52. It is 14-204. So when you look at the penalties here under subsection C, what this allows for is they have to show up to municipal court, but it's just a ticket. What we're getting is we're at least allowing it. We're at least kind of inconveniencing them in some way. They're going to have to show up. The first fine is $45. The second fine, though, and this is going to happen within a 12-month period. So if you have another party, what we've been having is a lot of issues with our students having a lot of parties. And we have specific houses that a lot of the times we have to go to. So, you have another one within a 12-month period. And the 12-month period starts that first time you get your ticket. This is in January through December. The second time it's going to be a $100 fine plus you're paying court costs. And then the third one is $250 fine. Third or subsequent ones are $250 fines and mandatory. They're all mandatory appearances before municipal court, but you're also paying court costs as well. So there's a deterrent factor there. You're going to get fined. But what this allows like I said, our officers to do is at least go and write these tickets instead of having to hit these kids with, or anybody really, with a disorderly conduct. Disorderly conduct is just not necessarily a ticket you want on your record, even though it is a misdemeanor. There's going to be quite a few exceptions, obviously. We have a lot of things that go on here. I specifically noted in there to anything that would go on in the Broadway Plaza that is permitted. And when I say permitted, it's allowed to happen there. Those of us who may be downtown in the evening, a lot of the times you'll see folks kind of congregate there at the Broadway Plaza. If that would happen to get too loud or out of control, then we can go down there. Officers have discretion to write them a noise ordinance violation or, send them home. So what this allows, is another tier for enforcement on this as well. Sporting events. I also put in there I believe it's recognized sporting events, because some of these are not sponsored. Okay, so like Choppers and some of the baseball teams are not necessarily a sponsored event. They're a recognized sports team. Obviously, we don't want them to fall under the noise ordinance. So I don't know if you guys have any questions. One of the things, so you'll look at definitions here, and that is, it's going to be prohibited acts, which is 14-203. And that's basically what we're saying is the following sounds are declared to be a noise disturbance, and it's any sounds which endanger or injure the safety or health of humans or animals, a noise or disturbs a reasonable person of ordinary sensitivities. That's going to be really where it's enforced right there. A noise or disturbs. Those are going to be the calls that we get. Officer pulls up, and if he pulls up there, what this allows for him to do is if it's something originating from, let's say we pull up to a house party, and if we can hear it from the street, then now we can go and potentially write a noise ordinance ticket, okay? And, it talks about amplified sound and stuff like that. If you guys look at other cities, and it's something we decided not to do, and that's why I'm kind of pointing it out in case anybody is aware of it, a lot of our bigger cities, Manhattan, for example, their noise ordinance is quite a bit longer, because included in there is the officers have these sound gauges, for lack of a better term, and they can actually gauge how loud some of that sound is, and then they can determine off of that sometimes what the fine may be and things like that. We're not looking to go that deep and that far in it, because then that's going to be money we need to spend to buy these devices that we don't necessarily need. It doesn't necessarily fit what we're looking to do here. So that's what we're looking to do right now. Like I said, it's an extra enforcement mechanism for us, but at the same time, is actually a benefit for the community too. They're not going to get disorderly conduct tickets. They're going to have these noise infractions or these noise ordinance violations. So, any questions?
Yeah, I got comments. I got just two comments.
Sure.
One of them is, I know the police officers in Concordia are anxious to have something like this.
They are, yeah.
At least I've been told.
They're pretty. Yeah, they said they were pretty happy to do this. It gives them.
And this is probably the closest I'm ever going to get in Concordia to get some sort of controls over 4th of July fireworks, so.
As long as I'm sitting here, it is.
Well, I can
So
tell you.
I'll take this as a compromise.
There we go. Well, I did mention my experience with the noise ordinance violation, and I can tell you it is a noise ordinance violation if your roommates decide to have their buddy's band play in your backyard. It gets loud. So, yeah.
I think it's a good step. I think it's going to make it a lot more, give us more traction, because I can absolutely appreciate where I wouldn't want to write somebody a ticket for disorderly conduct,
Yeah.
but it gives you some teeth to be able to do something instead of knock it off. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Now here's something.
Yeah.
I'm serious about it.
Exactly. And, part of it, too, our officers have said, is they have to routinely return to parties. So if they tell these guys, hey, shut it down, they're having to go back because the party's not getting shut down.
So if you have an assembly of people that got a permit, and they're doing whatever they're assembling for, and they're excessively loud, and so the 11 to 7 does not pertain to them? 11 p.m. to 7 p.m. does not pertain to them?
I would believe, no. I mean, if they're going to, well, now.
I doubt we would issue
Yeah.
permit for a sanctioned event that would go past 11 p.m.
Yeah.
No, I'm sorry, yeah, that's kind of,
Okay.
So then, yes, this ordinance would apply to them.
Okay.
Well, speaking for myself, I'd like to see it follow through because, like I said, police officers I talk to, they say they need something.
Yeah.
Because right now they have nothing.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I think this
exactly.
is good.
And this is good.
and so we pretty much have it ready to go, so
Okay.
we'll probably have it ready for you the next meeting, so. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Towing ordinance. This one caught me by surprise.
Bruno and I both tow cars for different reasons. He tows them off of private property, he has a long procedure he has to go through. We generally tow them because of incident to an arrest or an abandoned vehicle. What has precipitated us asking to change the ordinance is the old ordinance passed in 2010 capped reimbursement on a tow at $150. Well, I ended up with a $300 bill, can only recoup $150 by city ordinance. What we do is, when the tow company tows something at our request, we pay them. Then we recoup it either from the owner or when we sell the vehicle. This is not a money-making proposition, okay? This ordinance would remove that $150 cap, so if we tow costs us more than that, we can ask for reimbursement for the total amount. And at the city manager's suggestion, since we basically handle money twice on this thing, is put an 8% administrative fee on there for handling the paperwork.
You know, I like about this is because I've heard this a while back, but I was posed by people saying it was hard to find towing companies who would come and tow the cars because of the fact they knew the city had a cap on it, and they couldn't do that for that amount. So they said, heck with it, we don't want to do it. And this would help us stop that, open that back up.
Yeah, I mean, I think the business that I've talked with wants to help out and wants to be a part of that process, but also wants to be able to recoup their costs
Sure.
of doing so. I mean, I would
Well, that's why we pay the tow companies up front.
Yep.
Then we assume the liability of collecting reimbursement. On the $20 a day storage that was put on in 2010, the two companies that have secure storage, by I mean fenced-in lots, one charges $40 a day, one charges $50. The other tow company doesn't have a secured lot. He's kind of reluctant to do it, but he said if he had to, he'd charge $25. I'd like to see the $20 go up, kind of split the difference, make it $30 a day.
I don't see any reason why not to raise it to what we have to pay to where we're not out any money at all.
That's right.
Exactly.
I mean, I'd be okay with us charging $50 a day. Don't,
The $20 is if we put it at the city garage. Otherwise, as you see in item number 2, it's the actual amount of any impoundment fees. So if we have to go to secure storage, we're gonna pass that
I
fee
understand.
through.
I apologize.
To
Good.
somebody else, but then, on our own lots, we'll go ahead and charge $20.
I understand.
Does the $20 in our garage, the city garage, does that cover the cost and the trouble and the whole thing?
I'd have to defer to Bruno on that one, he deals more with
The
that.
original ordinance that we did on this was, and the $150 fee, I would like to make a comment on that, because that $150 fee was based on the 3 licensed towers that were in town at the time. We asked everyone, what would be your maximum charge for a regular vehicle, not a truck or a semi or a bus or anything, and they said we wouldn't charge the city more than $150, so we put that in there to lock them into that. But 2 of the KCC licensed towers went out of business since then, or they were guys retired that were actually doing the towing. Now some more have apparently come back. So for a long time, we only had 1 licensed tower in Concordia, and now he was getting all the tows, and he was keeping it under that 150. In fact, only one time the 150. But on the storage, what we were finding out is if we were letting somebody else store these, for my purposes, on these abandoned vehicles, or one off of a private property, we gotta go through this massive 35, 40-day process to get it off that property to start with. And then we have to do 15 days, 20 days with the state and getting the last known address. So it's sitting on that lot for 40 days before the actual real owner may even know it's been towed. So we're having to pay that person's storage fee price. So I said, why don't we just put them down at the city shop and we charge the storm? And then we're not, the only reason we would ever have to pay a private vendor for storage is when we have to have secure storage that the police would need for evidence or something like that. So we can make the money because a lot of the vehicles I tow, 9 out of 10 of the vehicles I tow, nobody wants them back. And they end up on Purple Wave and we get maybe $100 out of them or $50 or $200. It kind of depends on what the vehicle is and that kind of thing. So that's kind of the genesis of kind of how that evolved. But the reason we wanted to store them on our lot was to not have to pay somebody to store on a vehicle we'd probably never recover any money off of. And, you know, it could sit there for 45 days. That's $800 in storage for a vehicle that's worth $50 if it doesn't have a motor in it.
So it's $20?
So we just put a $20 fee on it so that if somebody actually wanted to come back and get that vehicle, we would have something to base the price on to charge them for our storage.
Okay, so $20.
So that's what we did for
Okay.
our own.
Okay.
Now it's up to, you know, I mean, if we think we need more, but I don't, storing down there at the yard, there's
No problem.
no problem. There's plenty of room.
Okay. Now, election.
It's kind of semi-secure.
A little bit of a fine
If we really wanted to, we could probably get in there, but that's where the secure storage. That's kind of the history of it.
We did have a Harley stolen
it's on
from
the
down there
noise.
once, but we got it back.
I see no problem with this either.
So you think just as written, just put $20 for your $25?
Yeah.
What? What's it-
It's like $20 is adequate, so.
Okay,
Okay,
If I turn that into a session.
thank you.
thank you.
So we'll bring that back to you next time then.
And that's it.
I had something I should have brought up.